Okay, so far we've been talking about how to, well, talking about the strategy for dealing with missing value as dropping rows or dropping columns. Okay, that is, if you have missing value, just drop it. And again, as I mentioned previously, that's not a good strategy, right? So the alternative is to impute missing values. So if you have a missing value, okay, try to put some value there. Okay, of course, you don't want to put any old value. You want to put a value that is most likely to be. So if there is a missing value, what is it most likely to be? Yeah. And how do we determine that likely value? So we start with any old value. So it gives you the initial, the very first example is that you impute with a constant. We just say, okay, let's assume that it's going to be this value. So here we make a copy of df2. Okay, so df3 is going to be that, and you have a bunch of missing values everywhere. Okay, so instead of drop NA, okay, now we have a different function called fill NA. Fill NA, and then you say, okay, what to fill it with? Then wherever you have a missing value, okay, so you take the missing value out and put this value here. Okay. And if you want to put a constant, okay, that is 0. Okay, if you say 0, then wherever there is a missing value, then okay, all the NaN has been changed to 0. Okay. You can, okay, I'm going to run that again. You can put any value you want. So if it's 10, so it's going to be 10 everywhere. Okay. But that's not a good approach again. Okay, you don't put any old value, especially here. So the first three are numeric values, with 10 probably makes sense. I mean, in a way, though it doesn't make any sense, it makes even less sense to put 10 for V4 and V5, because V4 and V5 seem to be letters, and you're putting a number there. Okay, so obviously a constant is not a good approach. So what can we do? Well, one thing we can do is to separate out by data types. So impute missing value with 0 only for numeric functions, numeric columns. Okay, so we make a fresh copy, and you see that there are 3 numeric columns and 2 objects. So what we can do is we can use the select D types, and then you give the data type number. So now this part, what I have highlighted, that's going to select only those columns that are numeric. So it's going to select those 3 columns, V1, V2, and V3. And then you apply the fill NA. So now this fill NA will be applied only to the columns that is selected, okay, from this code. Okay. And then of course, to make it permanent, you have to say in place equal to true, otherwise it will not be permanent. So now if you do that, then you see, okay, so all right, it's a complicated little. The in place works. It worked. Maybe it is to do with the version number. In place should work. I don't know why it did not work here. All right. So so you use df select D types to select the columns of number, and then you replace with fill NA. Okay. Now, so far we've been talking about replacing missing values with a constant. Okay. But a better approach would be, instead of coming up with some constant, so maybe if it's a missing value, then let's take an average of the column and use the mean, the average, as our replacement for missing value. Or maybe the median, okay. Or even mode. If it is a non-numeric column, maybe mode, the value that occurs most often is probably the one that's most likely to be the case. Remember, we want to replace the missing value with what it most likely could be. Okay. So mean, median, and mode are good choices. So if you want to do that, so let's here that should be number. Okay. So if you select the numeric columns, make that into a list, and use that list. So this list has the column names of numeric columns, and then you find the mean. So the mean of V1, mean of V2, mean of V3. So now we want to use, for column V1, we will fill the missing values with the mean of V1. For column V2, mean of V2, and so on. Okay. So this is how we do that. Okay, let's look at DF3. So it has all the missing values. So you take the num calls, okay, which we have created here. Okay. So that num calls, we want to fill an A with the corresponding mean. Okay. Okay, so now you see that the missing values for V1, okay, so like 5 is the missing value, so 914, so that's, okay, so 3, 5, and 7. You see 3, 5, and 7, or 0.914. Those missing values have been replaced by the mean of V1. So for V2, so we have 4 and 8. So 4 and 8 are replaced with the mean of V2, 1.325. For V4, V3, we have 0, 2, 10, and 12. So 0, 2, 10, and 12 are replaced by the mean of V3, which is minus 0.015. Okay, and V4 and V5, of course, nothing has happened there because it's not a numeric column. Now, if you have non-numeric columns, okay, object, yeah, we can use the more appropriate. You can use mean or median. So if you want to use the median, you will just use median here. Okay. Now, there is no mean or median for object columns, right? So here we select a list of object columns. Now, instead of, we can't use mean or median because those are numeric summaries, so there is no mean or median, but it has mode, so we can use mode. So if you compute the mode of the object columns, okay, V4 and V5, the mode for V4 is A, mode for V5 is Y. Okay, but the problem here is that mode need not be a unique value, like mean or median there can be only one unique value for each column. There is only one mean for a given column. Whereas mode, you can have multiple. So sometimes you may have one row and another row and another row. Okay? There can be several rows, there can be several modes. So that's the reason why you have to use the dot lock and the 0, the first row. Okay? We can select any one of them. They're all equally good because they're all modes. So we can select the first one because we'll always have a value at 0 index. Okay? Because if there is only one mode, it will be there in 0. Okay? The one index, okay, we may or may not have. If there is only one mode, there will not be an index 1. Okay, so you use row index 0 and for all the OBJ calls. So that's what you have to use. So you set object columns. Okay, fillna, you use the mode df mode.lock code. Okay, so now you see the missing values in V4 and V5 have been replaced by the corresponding mode. Okay, for V4 it is replaced by A, for V5 they are replaced by Y.